Hey, what's up guys, Brad here. So today we're taking a look at 15 Tag Force cards that could come to Duel Links. Now, we have seen Tag Force cards come to the game. A Labyrinth of Klein come with the Paradox Brothers unlock. We had Sacred Knight Shield Bearer and all that stuff from the Duel quest. We had a ton of other things. We had Ojamandala from the GX Chronicles event. So we've had a ton of cards from Tag Force 1 all the way through 6 come to the game. And I thought, I'm going to take a few cards from each game and see should they come to Duel Links, and I think all these cards should, and I've made some kind of exceptions along the way. Let me know down below what you think, and if there's any Tag Force or anime exclusive cards you'd like to see in Duel Links, let me know down below because it'll be a fun discussion to have, so let's get right into it. So first up, we're going completely off the top 15 route with the entirety of Jim's Fossil deck, because Jim is a character we should see in Duel Links. Like, I think most GX fans want him to come to the game, and in general want these cards printed in the TCG, but it's not happened just yet, so getting them in Duel Links would be a nice little compromise, a nice little stepping stone for them to potentially, release them in a Bowser Legend pack in the coming years. But the Fossil deck in general, it all revolves around bringing out Fossil monsters using cards in your graveyard as materials, and also kind of ranking them up and leveling them up into their bigger forms. So kind of like Masked Heroes, I feel like. They just kind of get bigger forms out by using their spell card, their fusion spell. It's kind of similar to that, but not really. They're just a cool little archetype. I don't think they'll be able to do anything really. Like, they're not that good, but in general, they're a fun deck, a fun anime character, and something that really should have been in the TCG and, especially in Duel Links, but we all know how they're treating GX characters. So, yeah, bit hopeful for that one, but in general, that's my main pick, is the entirety of the Fossil deck. Next up, we have B.E.S Assault Core. Now, you'll know the B.E.S archetype. We have Crystal Core in the game, I believe it is, and maybe Big Core. But Assault Core is one that is in the anime only and Tag Force only. And this one is basically a Cyber Dragon. 1300 attack points, 2000 defense, level 4. If your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you can special this card from your hand. So it's a mini Cyber Dragon for defense mode. Really, really nice. Would be great for Synchro decks and for Xyz decks when we eventually get it. Just a card I think they could introduce if they wanted to bring in the rest of the B.E.S cards from the TCG. This would be a nice little card to go alongside it, so I'm quite hopeful for this one, honestly. Then rounding up our Tag Force 2 picks, we have Last Machine Acid Virus, a trap card that basically stops Ancient Gears. Tribute 1 water monster, check all monsters on your opponent's side of the field, their hand, and all cards they draw until the end of your opponent's third turn after this card's activation, and destroy all machine-type monsters. Now, obviously, this isn't as good as Crush Card Virus, which clearly is what it's meant to be based on Crush Card, which would be ridiculous in Duel Links. This one is way more specific. It deals with Ancient Gears, which, it's one of the decks I hate. It's the only structure deck EX I haven't bought into because I just don't like playing against the deck in general, so I don't really know why I'd want to play it. It just seems like a fun card and a very tilting card if we eventually got to a meta where machines were more dominant than they are now. Moving on to Tag Force 3, we have KITEROID, another support card for Cyrus that never came out in the TCG, and this one is very generic. So level 1, 200, 400, activate when you discard this card from your hand during damage calculation after a direct attack. Any battle damage you would receive from that attack becomes 0, so it's a hand trap to negate battle damage, so it's okay, it's pretty cool there. Only once, if you move this card from the game when it's in your graveyard, any battle damage you receive from a direct attack becomes 0, so basically it can stop 2 direct attacks from killing you, which is really good in Duel Links. It's kind of like Grit, in a way. It's kind of like a hand trap version of Grit. If this card came to the game, I think you would actually see some play. Maybe you put it in Neos, Neos Fusion, go into KITEROID into the graveyard, so you now have a protection from a direct attack if your Neos does die. Obviously, we did see Neos Fusion get hit on the ban list, so yeah, maybe KITEROID could come to the game via a GX event. That'd be pretty cool, because we haven't really seen too many GX Tag Force cards apart from Plasmori, Etom, and Ojamandala, so the more the merrier, honestly. Then we have Attribute Gravity, a trap card which has some really cool artwork featuring 2 of my favourite cards, Command Knight, and I believe that's Blazing Heat, the upgraded form of Heat of the Fire Charmer. If there are face-up monsters of the same attribute on both players' fields, any monsters able to attack must attack monsters of the same attribute. So if you have a mirror match, or if you're in like a Light Sworn versus Blue Eyes matchup, it forces your monsters to battle even if you don't want them to. It's a continuous trap card. Really, really cool effect, and I feel like this one as well is so specific that it probably won't be played because obviously currently the metagame is very, very diverse, so you do need a meta where you are actively playing to against a certain deck, and a deck is so prone. So let's say, for example, Dark Magician was the meta deck, and everyone was playing it. You'd of course play another dark deck that can kind of overpower it in some situations, and then obviously you'd force your monster to attack, and especially force your opponent's monsters to attack into your monsters. And if you have a sort of a lockdown combo or cards that bounce back to the hand, this could be a very cool card to combo with it. So a fun card, a tilting card, maybe one that probably won't come to Duel Links just because of its effect in general, but I'd like to see it. It'd be pretty cool. Then we have D-Mind, a Destiny Hero support card. Activate only if you control no Destiny Heroes. Special on level 3 or lower from your deck. This would be great for getting out Disc Commander if we got it, or Doom Lord, or the one we got via the new login campaign, the Blade Master. We got a second copy of that. There's only so many. I think D-Cubed, which we don't have in the game, or we might do, I can't remember. Fallen Angel or something. There's a couple of them. There's a couple of Destiny Heroes we have in the game already that can use this quite well. And just getting out a Destiny Hero from the deck, and it has to really be on your first turn, if not, it's got to be when you're falling behind, is always going to be really nice. So, I don't think this is too bad. I quite like it, and it's not come out in the TCG just yet, so maybe we could see this in Duel Links. Give us some more Destiny Hero support cards, give us an Aster Phoenix event, a roaming event, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, now let's move on to our final GX Tag Force 3 card, being Sacred Defense Barrier, a field spell card for rock monsters, and would really help out Triamids and Magnet Warriors. So every time a rock is summoned to your field, change it to defense mode, and place one protection counter on the monsters. So basically, you're kind of limiting yourself, because they are all forced into defense mode. Now I believe there's that spell card Attack the Moon, which I think when a card is turned to defense mode, you can destroy a card in the field. So it does combo quite well with that, but also this field spell card gives protection for monsters with a protection counter on it, so if they would be destroyed by battle by card effect, you can move a counter to protect them. So it does require a bit of a different playstyle, in that every monster you summon will go to defense mode first of all, then you have to wait a turn, change it back to attack mode, and then use them. So it does come with a bit of a downside, but in general for Magnet Warriors, I feel like that's not a bad thing, because most of the time you aren't really, turn 1 at least, attacking in with your monsters. You might want them in face-up defense mode rather than attack mode, because either way in your opponent's turn, you're then going to chain their effects off, and then special summon, send them to the graveyard, and hopefully end up on a Berserkion or something. So yeah, now we have 5D's Tag Force 4 going into the 5D's dimension, the 5D's arc, and here's where things get very similar to things we've had in Duel Links already. So first up we have SYNCHRO back. We had SYNCHRO Spirits in the game already. SYNCHRO back is another trap card which has Mistworm on the card art, which is why I love it. Return one SYNCHRO you control to the extra deck, then special one SYNCHRO monster with the same name as that monster during your next standby phase. So it's kind of a protection for your SYNCHRO monster, so if you know it's going to die, this is what you use to deal with it. But also you could do some really cool cheese plays here. So let's say you're up against a mirror match, you econ took their big SYNCHRO, you return that SYNCHRO to the extra deck, then on your turn, you bring out your own version of that SYNCHRO, and then you're kind of golden. Like, then you're set up for a very, very good play that turn. That could be really cheesy, and that's why I quite like this card. Again, it's that situation that won't happen a lot. You would use this when your SYNCHRO is going to die, or if its attack was reduced by things like World Legacy Clash or Wall of D, just to reset their attack points basically. That's where you'll use this the most, so I think in general, this could come to Duel Links quite nicely and could be a prime contender for an upcoming Duel Quest or a Mission Circuit event. Then we have a bit of a fun card, Giant Ushi Oni. This is a level 8 Fiend, 2600 attack points, 2100 defense points, and has a ridiculous summoning condition that you're never going to get off. You contribute one Ushi Oni you control to special this card from your hand, and if this destroys opponent's monster by battle, it can attack once again in a row. So Ushi Oni is like a level 5 vanilla, really, really bad, but you get this guy out. It's a fun card, it's like Tatsuno Toshigo. You wouldn't play it, it's just a fun meme card, and yeah, I needed something to hit this list up, so that's why it's in here really. Then we move on to Tag Force 5, and we have Centaur MINA. So this card is one of Sherry's monsters, a fusion monster, and it's a fusion of Sacred Knight Spearholder and Horse of the Floral Knights, and you'll recognize those cards because we got those in the most recent Duel Mission Circuit event. So this card, Centaur MINA, could be the next one coming and will make a lot of sense. Once during every one of your turns, you can negate the activation of an opponent's trap card and return it to its original position, so it's not broken at all. It's really not very good, but in general, it can come to Duel Links. Like, negating a trap card once per turn during your turn only is okay, but in general, it's not as good as like a Shien. It's nowhere near as good as a Shien, and has a way harder cost. So yeah, it's not great, but it could come to the game, so sure, why not? Then we have Infernity Des GUNMAN. This is one of 2 Infernity cards. There was also Infernity Zero, but that card basically makes it so you don't lose a duel when your life points hit 0 and you get another chance basically. So that wasn't ever coming. But this one's kind of interesting. If you have no cards in your hand, when your opponent activates a card or effect that would inflict damage, you can remove from play this card in your graveyard to negate the effect damage you take. Your opponent then chooses to activate or not to activate the following effect. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a monster, you take 2000. If it's a spell or trap card, inflict 2000 damage to your opponent, then shuffle the card into your deck. This is a really interesting card. It does nothing by itself on the field. It's just a level 1, very basic stat line, but if you put it into the graveyard with a card effect, then that's where it really shines. And obviously your opponent probably isn't going to activate the effect most of the time. In general, it would just negate the damage, but if your opponent did choose to risk it all and activate that effect, that would be a pretty intense duel, which is why I'd quite like to see this come to the game, but it probably won't. Let's be honest, you know, Infernity support's been a bit lackluster, so we probably won't get it. Finally, for Tag Force 5, we have Tuning Barrier, a continuous trap card. If a player has a tuner on the field or in the graveyard, they can't declare an attack. This card can't be returned to the hand, and send this card to the graveyard during your 3rd end phase after activation. So it's like a trap card version of Swords of Revealing Light for synchro based decks, which means that if a synchro deck ever became like top tier meta, the tier 0, 99% of decks are running it, this would be a very, very good out for that deck if it couldn't negate or destroy Tuning Barrier. So in general, Floodgate cards are a bit iffy whether people like them or don't. I quite like Secret Vision Spellcasters or Skill Drain, but then other things I'm kind of against. So Tuning Barrier, it could be fun, but again, only really for a meta where synchros are very, very heavily influencing it. So now we're on to Tag Force 6. We have 4 cards left of the video. It's going to be a pretty long video actually. Let's go in with Chaos Bloom, a card that is mechanically very similar to Good Goblin Housekeeping, in that it gains effects based on the number of Chaos Blooms in the graveyard. So if there's 0, destroy 1 face-up monster on the field with 1000 or less attack points. If there's 1, destroy 1 card and either play a spell on trap card zone. Or if there's 2 or more, destroy 1 card on the field. I think this isn't bad at all. Obviously, it's non-targeting, which is really, really good, but in general, that first effect, the 0 effect, destroy 1 face-up monster on the field with 1k or less, that's really hard, because what deck right now is running monsters with that low attack points? None. There's really none in the game that do that, so this would be incredibly hard to pull off in general. You'd have to find ways of getting at least 1 Chaos Bloom into the graveyard before you could then really get its effects off, because then you'd get to destroy 1 card and need to play a spell trap card zone, or then destroy 1 card on the field, at which point it becomes like an MST or something like that nature. So I think this could be pretty cool. It would be a fun tilting card if pulled off correctly, but you know, for 3 cards in the deck, you're really only gaining destroy 2. Like in general, it's 2 destructions from 3 cards, which not very good. You know, it's not a very good ratio, but still could be fun. Then we have Diving Exploder, a Dark Machine monster level 1 0 attack and defense. During either player's turn, you can send this card from the hand to the graveyard, switch the original attack and defense of every monster on the field until the end phase. This is a hand trap version of Shield and Sword, very, very cool, and especially if you do this during the damage step, this could be really impactful for your opponent. They could be attacking into a small monster in attack mode, then they could switch their attack points and defense points, and could take a lot of damage. So could be a very, very tilting card. Again, could be used in your turn as well to get an advantage in the battle phase, or to activate a certain card's effect if it requires a monster with a certain number of attack points. So this could be a very, very fun, very, very tilting card. Maybe it wouldn't come to Duel Links because it has the name Exploder in it, but then with Exploder Dragon Wings, that's probably fine. Who knows? Anyway, that's I think that's the last monster on this list. Yeah, we have 2 more trap cards left. The first one being Passion of BAIMASSER. This is a Earthbound Immortal support card. Of course, we talked about Rex Goodwin the other day. Activate only if you control a face-up Earthbound Immortal monster. Negate activation of an opponent's monster's effect and destroy it. In general, gives more support for Earthbound Immortals. It's a counter trap card, so in that sense, it can't be countered against, which is really, really, really nice. And yeah, just giving Earthbound Immortals more than being a generic beats deck is what we kind of want for the deck to be in general, but this is probably a bit too slow for that deck to run if it ever does get as good as it could be, with the support from Immortal Destinies, which we talked about in that last video. So last card on the list is Contaminated Earth, another support card for Earthbound Immortals. If a face-up level 5 or higher monster under your control was destroyed by a card effect this turn, special 1 Earthbound Immortal from your hand, deck or graveyard. This turn it can't attack or activate its effects. So yeah, I'm gonna leave off on that one. I think that one's probably gonna be a bit busted if we ever get some good support for Earthbound Immortals. And let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. Tomorrow we have the Jaden event coming back, so that should be pretty cool. See you then.